Hello, today is January 18th of 2023, and in this video I'd like to go over some of the results of our 2023 community survey. I'd like to kind of share some of my thoughts and ideas about it and just give you my perspective on it. And the results of this survey are also posted on my blog, so you can get all the details there, including the original data that was submitted by people within the survey, excluding their email address, of course. With that, we had 109 responses in the survey, and that's a little bit less than what we had a few years ago. I think a few years ago we had 120 or so. So I think this reflects kind of the community size. A lot of people have jumped over Garrett Smith's Love Your Liver program and probably are not participating here as much as before, but that's quite all right. We still have a pretty good active community. Also, I think I'm getting about one or two new email contacts a week regarding the low vitamin A diet approach. Quite a few of those people come from a background of being exposed to Accutane. Significant number of people are also from a carnivore and liver diet, so that word has definitely got out, and people are contacting me about that and kind of joining up. I've also not been very active in the forums and in this vitamin A topic for the last kind of year or so. I'm just really busy with other life events and other things going on in my life, and just kind of take it from there. I'm still very interested in this topic, haven't lost interest in it at all, just wanting to take a bit of a wait-and-see approach with what happens with people that are participating in this. So I want to say thank you for everyone that's participated in this project, and say thank you to everyone that's taken the time to submit a response for a survey. I really appreciate that. And the purpose of the survey is, one, to gauge where people are at overall, and two was to get some insight into this detox setback cycle that a lot of people are encountering. I view it as one of the most troublesome aspects of this low vitamin A diet approach and this whole theory of reducing vitamin A to recover health. I actually have absolutely no doubt whatsoever that we're still on the right approach. However, this detox setback is a really big concern, and I think it's one of the biggest issues that we're facing in having this concept and approach gain wider acceptance and more adoption. So I don't want to kind of go into that too much. We'll talk about it a little bit more as we get into some of the questions, but that was the general purpose of this survey, is to get some insight into that. So with that, I think I'll jump in and I'll try to go over some of the results and just share my thoughts on it. So for the most part, kind of the age demographics, pretty much what I expect here. Obviously most people are adults, very few people less than 20 years old, but there are a few people. And I think those people are mostly coming into this from, like I said, from being exposed to Accutane. There's a question here about why are you attempting this diet, and so about 20% to recover from autoimmune disease, 26% to recover from a non-autoimmune disease, 9% to recover from Accutane, 11 or 10% to recover from carnivore liver diet. Interestingly, about 9% of people trying to just maintain their existing good health. So I think that's fantastic, and a whole smattering of other reasons for people jumping in on this. So you can look at the actual spreadsheet file if you're interested in seeing what those are referring to. The next question here was, how restrictive are you being with the diet? One was, very restrictive, virtually no vitamin A. I think 5 was like moderately restrictive. So kind of not, of course, not everybody's being super restrictive with the diet. Kind of low or very low is probably where most people are at. I just want to make a comment here that, I'm at the extreme end of trying to be ultra low on vitamin A, but I'm not doing that for health reasons. I'm doing that, prove that, a human can live quite well without vitamin A in their diet for a long period of time, like 10 years. So that's my personal goal. I don't think and don't recommend that anybody should go that restrictive. One, it's a kind of a hard, very limited diet to follow for a long period of time, and two, I don't think you need to do that. I think just a low or very low vitamin A diet is going to be equally effective and maybe even more effective in not getting into this detox setback cycle. We have quite a few people that are, well into the 2-3 year time frame with this diet, so we're getting more and more long-term results, which I think is fantastic. We still have quite a few people that are new at signing up 6 months in and 7 months in, 3 weeks in, so a lot of newcomers. And also, I'd maybe make a comment here about even though we have a lot of newcomers coming into this project, we also have a lot of people dropping out. So I think for every new person that's coming in, we probably have a person that's dropping out, and that kind of ties in with this next question, which is probably one of the most important questions on this survey, and is it working for you? And interestingly enough, most people say yes, or yes, it's working, but very slowly. And I think so, but too early to tell. So almost 75% or more people are saying that it's working for them. 8% saying no, but I'm still trying, and one person replied here, no, I've given up on it. So, of course, this paints a pretty good news kind of picture, but it's not accurate either, because we have a lot of people that are dropping out who didn't obviously get the message about this survey or wouldn't have bothered to submit a response. So I think if we had the input from people that have attempted this and have dropped out, we would have a lot fewer people claiming success or that it's working for them, and might be, 65% of people might say it's working for them. So once again, we have definitely room for improvement. The next question here was, what is the time frame you're expecting to achieve your health goals in? And this was in years. I think in the last survey I said months, and obviously the scale's gone up on it. So 3 to 5 years, pretty common kind of answer. 4 years, 4.5 years, 6 years. And I think this is really good that people are kind of adjusting their expectation on the time frame. And I think that I probably set the wrong expectation with my account of what happened to my own health. So in the early stages for me, in the first 1, 2, 3 years, I was starting from extremely poor health, with eczema being my worst health condition, just because it was the most painful and chronic and unrelenting, every day, having this burning skin. So the second big issue for me was my chronic kidney disease. It wasn't really painful. It wasn't really bothering me that much, other than, having to sometimes when I'm trying to pee and have a steady stream of blood rather than urine. That was pretty nasty. So for me to make a recovery from those two rather severe health conditions in the first 2 or 3 years led me to believe that I was making a substantial recovery, and indeed I was. But what I didn't appreciate was that in the following years I continued to see these other areas of my health improve, and those have kind of happened very, very slowly and cumulatively. These small incremental improvements, but they're adding up. And some of the most unexpected things that I think I had no appreciation that any expectation that would happen is that my dental health vastly improved. My vision has vastly improved. One of the first things to actually recover for me was my joint pain and joint stiffness, and that recovered very early, but it's continued to be exceptionally good for these years. So I think I mistakenly set the wrong expectation that people would recover in this kind of 2 to 3 year time frame, when it really, to make a full recovery from serious vitamin A toxicity, is probably in the neighborhood of 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And even with that, like I said in my blog post, I'm going to continue with this diet probably for the rest of my life. I see no reason to add vitamin A back into my diet. Next question here about, what are people commonly supplementing with? And I didn't have a lot of options here, but interestingly enough, about 75% of people are supplementing with zinc, 20% or so supplement with vitamin C. Maybe comment here on vitamin C. I put a pretty lengthy blog post together about the legitimacy of vitamin C deficiency, and even though I think I've put a pretty good dent in that theory, I still believe that vitamin C in the early stages, at least in the early stages, is probably beneficial. And likewise for the B vitamins. So I think as we've theorized about before, that a lot of people getting the detox setback cycle are encountering that because with an increase in starch potential with so much rice consumption or other starches, that the demand of the B vitamins is going up, and as you're healing, you have the demand for the B vitamins. So good to see that people are supplementing with the B vitamins. I'm not saying that it's necessary, but I think since they're water soluble, most of them shouldn't pose too much of a risk. And the last one here was activated charcoal, seeing that, about 50% of people are still using activated charcoal, which I find really interesting and actually pretty encouraging too. Personally, I don't supplement with any of these anymore, but I did in the early days. So I think it's worthwhile in most certainly the early stages of this diet to consider, these supplements. I'm not a big fan of supplements in general, but these could probably help you. Next question here was just some general thoughts on trying to correlate what people are doing to avoid this detox setback cycle. And it's very peculiar to me because we'll see a little bit later in the survey, 40-50% of people are indeed still encountering this detox setback. But yet I have close associates and friends here where I live. They're all my age, my vintage, 50, 60 years old or so. And none of them have kind of hit this detox setback cycle. And so I'm trying to understand what the heck is different about these people that they haven't encountered it. I think I'll just comment on, I think drinking coffee is probably beneficial, most certainly in the first few years of this diet. So if you're currently a coffee drinker, I would say do not stop drinking coffee. My own experience with drinking coffee was that I was drinking coffee for forever, and definitely continued to drink coffee for the first 4 or 5 years of this diet, and then I stopped it. And one of the outcomes of that was my sleep quality improved dramatically, and so that was a beneficial aspect of dropping the coffee. But yet on the other hand, I think coffee is really beneficial in helping keeping bile moving through the digestive tract and benefiting liver health. So don't stop drinking coffee if you're drinking coffee. Sugar consumption, I'm mixed on. I don't have really any strong opinion about it. I still have honey, sometimes with my coffee, sometimes with my sourdough bread, but I don't really deliberately add any sugar in my diet. I don't think sugar is really that harmful, but I don't think it's that beneficial either. So just kind of seeing if we can maybe make some correlation there. How many people are getting regular exercise here? 70% of people said they were. I think that's fantastic. And then this last question here was about consumption of eggs. So what's popped up on the forum in the last while was this interesting topic about people consuming eggs and having that either stave off the detox setback cycle or actually reverse it and help people recover from it. I think that's a really interesting observation. And over the years, I've had a number of people contact me that saying that eating 1 or 2 eggs a day has definitely helped them stay out of their detox setback cycle. So I think that's a really interesting topic. Personally, I'm not eating eggs. I'm not going to do that because it would just kind of destroy my goal of living on a 0 vitamin A diet or a nearly 0 vitamin A diet for 10 years. So I'm not going to experiment with that, but really encouraged to see that other people are. Next question here was, do you believe vitamin A to truly be a vitamin? And I was just kind of trying to gauge what people are thinking, and a little bit surprised by this because actually a lot of people have completely given up on that notion that vitamin A is a vitamin. And so the scale was from 1 to 10, where 1 was no, it's nothing but a toxin. 10 was yes, it's still a vitamin, but it's toxin at high doses. So we've got a few people sitting on the fence, but kind of the majority of people kind of coming to this way of thinking that no, this is just a toxin and not a vitamin at all. So I'm really encouraged by that. A few people on the other side, eventually they'll see the errors of their ways, I think, or hope. But that's everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I had some questions here about what was the real reason for vitamin A to be supplemented in most of the world's food supply. There's a thread on my forum about fertility and how that ties in. Not going to really talk about it too much here. Next question, though, is regarding people's faith in the medical community and the medical establishment overall. And for the most part, most people have lost faith in this group of institutions. And I think the pandemic, if there's any good thing to come out of it, is that people have had a real serious wake-up call as to just how much corruption there is in the system and how interested they are in promoting their own agenda, making money, and absolutely, in my opinion, virtually zero interest in public health. And so I think it's all about the money. And so it's good to see there's a lot of like-minded people there. Next question was, what country do you live in? And actually most of the respondents, well, kind of the majority of the respondents are in the United States. Quite a few different ways the USA has been entered here, so it's been spread out. But we do have representation from kind of around the world, people from quite a few of the European countries, some people in Mexico. So I think it's a good kind of global representation. I'm really glad to see that kind of worldwide participation, even though the numbers are still kind of small, but I'm just really encouraged by that. The next question here was asking what people thought were the most important next steps and directions we should take this investigation. And rather than me writing up a response to each one of these questions, I thought I'd just kind of pick the ones that I think are most interesting. You can read other people's responses in the source data as you like, but I'll just kind of respond to the ones that I think are applicable for me to kind of answer. So first thing here was find out a way to detox people that have a detox pathway compromise. It seems like a lot of people hit a threshold and can't keep on detoxing. A really important point. And I've come to the conclusion that people need to be exceedingly careful and not do anything foolish, like taking supplements that are going to increase bile flow, or kind of, quote, detox the liver, because if somebody has, compromised bile ducts or vanishing bile ducts, or, fatty liver or liver disease, which so many adults in North America actually do have in the early stages, then I think anything that promotes serious bile dumping is very risky. And so I think people need to be careful and not supplement with anything that might do that. So I think taking a slow, gentle approach to this is the way to go. So I think just hunkering down, realizing that it's going to take a long time, go slow and easy, and that's probably the best approach here. Next comment was investigate the benefit of extra choline or eggs from the beginning of preventing adverse detox reactions, speeding up the process. So I agree with this. I think this is a really interesting thing. And one of the things about adding eggs to the diet, one is it's inexpensive, and you're not going out and supplementing with some commercial supplement that's going to cost you a significant amount of money. And also eggs are obviously quite safe. Sure, there's a little bit of added vitamin A in the eggs, but I think if it is preventing people from getting into the detox setback cycle or helping them get out of it, then I think it's worthwhile. I'm personally not going to research this topic at all by myself. I really don't have the time or resources to do that. So I'll kind of have a wait and see approach to what comes out of it. But I'm definitely kind of watching it and interested in seeing what comes of that. Another comment here about producing an updated edition of Extinguishing the Fires of Hell, including a new title and current research info. And actually, I was actually planning on doing this, probably not next year, but maybe the year after, kind of on my 10-year anniversary of being on this diet. I don't know about changing the title. That title originated from, personally having my skin burn off with eczema, and it was pretty much body-wide. I think pretty much every square inch of my body had eczema at some point in time or another, and it's like it's unrelenting. And so it's this unrelenting pain of having your skin burn off, and it's my closest approximation to hell on earth. And so yes, the title's a bit lame. Maybe I'll tweak it a bit, but anyway, that's the origin of the title. Yes, I'll probably produce an updated edition of it, and but not this year. There's a comment here, try to eliminate most of the agents that pollute your very important blog and focus on vitamin A. I don't know if this comment is really suggesting that I should start to moderate comments on my forum or start to censor people on my forum, but if that's what the suggestion is, I'm definitely not going to do that. I think everyone's got an opinion. Quite happy for people to share their views. I might not agree with them, but I'm definitely not going to start getting into that censorship kind of aspect of it. Comment here, how to speed up the excretion. This is exactly opposite to what I think people should be doing. I think they need to go very slowly and very carefully and just kind of monitor their own progress, but be very careful about doing something that could, quote, speed it up. Okay. A comment here, disprove the Wilbach and Hall experiments. So I've talked about this quite a bit on my forum. I wanted to do this back in late November. I sent out some emails to some researchers. Basically, I've got some of the more modern vitamin A research papers, contacted the primary authors on it, seeing if people would be interested in redoing this experiment. Other than one, I only had one person reply to that inquiry, and that reply that I did get was less than enthusiastic, to say the least. So I'm not. This is still of interest to me. But I've given it quite a bit of thought, and I think there's a more direct way to disprove the validity of those experiments. So that's something I will try to pursue. I am quite limited on my own personal time and resources, so if anyone wants to pitch in and help, that would be fantastic. So I don't anticipate that I'd be getting to that in the next 6 months or so. That's always being a bit overly optimistic, but kind of best case scenario is sometime in the next 6 months I would do that. Comment here about more research scientists getting involved. Yeah, that would be great. I've had a few people, scientists have contacted me and have kind of behind the scenes quietly cheering me on, I suppose, if I want to say that. But people are very reluctant to publicly go out on a limb for this. So maybe as we make more progress as a community, there will be more people that will be willing to kind of jump in and participate with this. Anyway, I have some thoughts on that, but that was the outcome of that. Another comment, researching the importance of choline. Yeah, I'll make a comment here. So I know there's been some comment that choline is not going to be effective because effectively all it's doing is taking vitamin A out of circulation and shoving it back into the liver. My view is that I would most certainly rather have vitamin A shoved back into the liver than have it circulating in my blood and damaging my tissues. So probably less damaging in the liver where it can be effectively catabolized and disposed of rather than having in circulation. I know there's been some comments on my forum about using lecithin. I'm really kind of skeptical about that. I know lecithin has been documented in some of the research papers as extracting vitamin A out of the retinol binding protein. So I think that would have to be approached very carefully, almost like with any other supplement. Somebody here commented about blood analysis, and somebody else had mentioned, asking me to get a more comprehensive set of labs and a comprehensive eye exam. Right now, I'm probably not going to do that this year. Probably do it next year. So if somebody wants me to do that, then please offer to pick up the tab for me to get an eye exam here. Comprehensive eye exam is about $200, and I'm already spending money on my blog and my forum, keeping that server up and running each year. And for me to just kind of dish out $200 every year for an eye exam, I'm just not gonna take on that cost without a reason right now. I feel my vision and eye health is excellent, and I've got no real reason to go get an eye exam, so I'm not going to do it unless somebody offers to pay for it. Okay. This comment here, study the effects of casein and how vitamin A causes Alzheimer's. So I have absolutely no doubt, zero doubt whatsoever, that vitamin A is probably one of the key toxins that is indeed causing Alzheimer's. That was kind of a big focus of my ebooks. And to understand the mechanism of how that's happening, it's really the very functional definition of vitamin A, because vitamin A attaches to RNA and DNA. That causes cells to produce defective proteins. Those defective proteins get ejected out of the cell, and if it's in your brain, it's going to start plugging up your brain with those famous amyloid plaques. So I think that's the mechanism of it. Nothing I can do to kind of research it more than that. And study the effects of casein. And this kind of ties into with redoing the Wolbach and House study. I think we could do some research on heated casein, proving that there's being retinoic acid generated, and I think that would be sufficient to disprove the Wolbach and House studies. Yeah, so a comment here about nailing down exactly what's going on with the detox setback phenomenon. So my understanding of what's happening, and I think this is kind of backed up both by some of the labs that have been shared with people on our forum and with me directly. And there's also a study released in China, I think in 2020, where they put a group of, I think it was young adults or youths, on a weight reduction diet, so more protein, less calories, and they were surprised to see that vitamin A serum levels were going up in these study subjects, where the goal of the study was just to reduce body weight, fat loss. And so we're seeing the same thing when people take on a diet either with more protein or maybe even with less vitamin A. More vitamin A is being detoxed out of the liver, goes into circulation, and if you are not able to deal with that, then you're going to end up into this detox, setback phenomenon, if you want to call it that. So it's really it's additional vitamin A toxicity. I think it's, repeating myself, I think it's incredibly serious, and we absolutely need to figure out a strategy for more people to avoid it and stay out of it. A couple comments about keep spreading the awareness of vitamin A toxicity, spreading the word. Yes, I'm kind of one person with limited resources, and I'm not There's no monetary gain in this for me whatsoever, so I have to be careful how much time and money I spend on it. But more importantly, I think what will bring awareness to this whole project is more people recovering their health, and the health recovery that we're seeing. Let's say 50% or more people saying that it's improving their health and reversing their chronic disease conditions. I think it's phenomenal. There is no medical drug that has anywhere near that kind of track record. So I think we're making phenomenal progress. Once we can kind of streamline the process and make it more predictable, more reliable, then I think we'll gain a lot more attention in this project. Prove vitamin A is a toxin. What I'll do is I'll post up a couple studies. These are the early studies I've referred to before. I think there's absolutely no doubt that vitamin A is a well-known toxin. The myth in medical research, it's only a toxin at high dose, but it is clearly a serious toxin. I'll share those studies again. Is there an antidote to vitamin A? I don't think there is, and I don't think there's going to be. And you have to understand the mechanism of the damage. And so what happens with vitamin A, it gets metabolized into retinoic acid. That retinoic acid binds with your RNA and DNA. And once that's bound to your RNA and DNA, then your cells are no longer producing the proper proteins. Pretty much every protein that is going to produce after that is going to be a defective protein. So the cell's function is compromised. The overall role of the cell within the tissue is compromised. If that defective protein is detected by the immune system, then you're going to have autoimmune disease. The unfortunate thing is that RNA-bound retinoic acid or DNA-bound retinoic acid is never going to unbind. You have to wait for those cells to die. And could there be an antidote that goes in and, splits that bonded RNA retinoic acid or DNA bonded retinoic acid? Possibly. I don't see that happening in the next 2 or 3 decades. So I think right now the answer is avoiding vitamin A, slowly detoxifying from it, and just staying away from it. So once again, I don't think there's going to be an antidote. There's a possibility, though. I'm not going to rule it out. There's, it's always possible. There is an interesting candidate as an antidote, if you want to call it that I'm aware of, but I'm not going to talk about it here. So comment about the B vitamins. I mentioned that before. I think it's important. I've heard some people saying that biotin, if they take it too much of it, that they end up beginning, acne. But I haven't personally experienced that, so I'm not sure. So B vitamins are generally quite safe, but once again, you need to be careful. More research on viruses. Maybe sometime in the next few years I'll do that. It's of interest to me, but the best I could do is kind of share my thoughts on it. Maybe write an ebook or publish a real book on it. I don't know if the overall medical community is even remotely close to kind of being open-minded about it. I kind of think not. There's another group of people that are kind of published people that are really questioning the whole theory of viruses, actually claiming that they don't exist at all. I'm not that far out on it, but and I don't think they're getting any serious attention from what they're trying to promote. So more comments about the detox setback cycle. Yeah, the most important thing we have going on. We're doing a Walk-in-House study. Yes, very important. Here's somebody asking me to get, another person asking me to get an eye exam. Once again, if someone wants to foot the bill for that, I'll do it. Otherwise, not this year. Comment here that vitamin A is not the only element used as a poison. Fluoride, yes. Gene therapy shots, yes. Um, Continue to openly share and experiment our successes and failures. So yes, I intend to do that. I'll keep my blog and forum up and running for at least the next 2 years. And I think it's equally important for us to talk about the failures than it is for us to talk about the successes. So we have both successes and failures. And I think the successes are actually, there's no dramatic successes stories. Or there's a few, but, it's more generally slow, gradual improvement in health. It's not these kind of big Shazam turnarounds in health. But we do have quite a few failures too, and I think it's once again just really important for us to acknowledge that and try to focus on how to prevent that. Comment here about having a really hard time getting people to kind of begin to kind of consider this topic. Yes, it's a hard topic to get people interested in. It's still way too far out in left field for most people to kind of buy into. I think hopefully with time, more and more people will. But once again, we need more success stories. Make it easier for new people to join. I'm not sure what that comment is, so whoever made that comment, maybe you can contact me and let me know. Make a simple calculator for people to estimate how much vitamin A might have stored in their liver. I could do that. I was thinking also we could put together maybe just even a little spreadsheet, and you could calculate how much vitamin A is stored in your liver. You could actually calculate how much vitamin A you get rid of if you're making blood donations, because we know the serum concentration if you're getting a vitamin A serum level test, and we could calculate how much you're getting rid of with each blood donation. So maybe those would be interesting little calculators. Start producing local food. Well, I'm most certainly not going to do that, but I think if this choline concept takes off, which I'm really interested to see if it does or not, I think there would be a market opportunity for an egg producer to start producing, low vitamin A eggs, and it'd be really easy to accomplish. You could just, feed these hens grain without any vitamin A added to it. Right now, as far as my research has gone, contacting chicken producers and egg producers, they supplement the hell out of their chicken feeds with vitamin A, so obviously there's going to be a lot of vitamin A in the eggs. But if we took that out of the feed, then the animals should be producing pretty low vitamin A eggs, and that would be an interesting kind of market for somebody to kind of start looking at. For me, I'm not going to do that. So now into the specific questions about what's happening with people's health. And overall, this is really encouraging. The results are pretty much what I expected, but maybe even kind of better than I expected. So for all of these questions, the scale goes from 1, which this condition has gotten worse, and 10 is substantially or significantly better. And so 5 would be no change, and anything above the 5 is things are moving in the right direction. So autoimmune diseases, 59 responses, and for most people is moving in the right direction. We've got some people that have kind of gone backward a little bit, but overall in the right direction. Overall mental health, once again, kind of the same kind of pattern we're seeing here. However, other people kind of slipping backwards a little bit. So overall, mental health is important to me. It's a huge topic in the general conversation in the general public these days. Everyone's getting more and more aware of this mental health crisis going on. So seeing this kind of improvement by applying a low vitamin A diet is super encouraging to me. Asked a question about anxiety, and I should have clarified, anxiety, I believe, is a condition where you have this extreme, anxiousness about being in social situations, in particular social situations. But once again, people are reporting a significant improvement in that. And for myself, also, I experienced a dramatic improvement in my overall sense of, let's call it not having anxiety or not being calm in kind of social situations. But so big improvement. Same thing with depression. Clearly most people are improving. 77 responses there. And if someone hasn't responded, then the condition doesn't apply to them. They felt the condition doesn't apply to them. A sense of calmness is kind of, it's kind of the inverse of anxiety, but where calmness, should have made this clear. The sense of calmness is just kind of your day-to-day background, chill level, how much, are things bothering you. And for me, once again, so I think this is separate and distinct from anxiety, but for me personally, I've kind of experienced a big improvement in my overall background sense of calmness and well-being. Mental clarity and ability to focus. Once again, most people are definitely moving in the right direction or making improvements there. Memory recall. Once again, it's moving in the right direction. Sleep quality, lots of improvements there. Joint pain and stiffness. A few people are stepping backwards here, and I think these probably people would be the same people that are reporting these detox setback symptoms. Clearly, I'm 100% convinced that joint pain and stiffness and poor joint structure is caused by vitamin A toxicity. So I think this is a fantastic response to see. Blood pressure and resting heart rate. I don't know how many people are really kind of closely monitoring this. We've got 68 responses. So once again, things are definitely moving in the right direction there. Same with LDL cholesterol and triglyceride levels. Likewise for A1C and in diabetes indicators, we're definitely moving in the right direction. This is you start to think about the magnitude and significance of what we're talking about. 30% or more of the adult population in North America is facing this disease, and if they can't turn it around, it's going to decimate their health in their senior years. And so, people can start turning this around kind of before you get there. And I think it's fantastic in the scope of it and the magnitude of, the number of people that are involved is just really, really compelling. Liver enzymes. So I know a lot of people do get liver enzymes checked with kind of regular lab work. So I think most people are kind of sitting on the fence here. It hasn't changed. Some people are reporting it's better. Some people are reporting it's worse. Digestive health. Most people are reporting this is going in the right direction. A few people are going slipping backwards. Make a comment about myself. My digestive health was incredibly poor when I first started on this diet. Kind of one of the first areas to improve also, but it wasn't fast. It was like in the 6-month kind of time frame, but I've never gone back from that. So I've never regressed back. And so it's one of these things like my joint pain healed and never regressed. And so hopefully other people have that same experience where, they're reporting these good results, but hopefully they'll have sustained good results. Dental health, more and more people are reporting that to be improving. Hearing and tinnitus. Overall skin health, most people are reporting that it's either staying the same or moving in the right direction. So overall, for the most part, people are definitely moving in the right direction. Even some people are kind of, sitting on the fence. A few people are kind of sliding backwards, but more people are generally, improving rather than not improving. Strength, people are reporting that they're getting stronger. For me personally, I've noticed my strength increase quite a bit in the first 4 or 5 years of this diet, but in the last 2 years or more, maybe 2 or 3 years, my strength has really shot up. So I think the gains in strength, if anyone's experience is going to be like mine, I saw some gains in my strength in the first 2 or 3 years, but then started to climb up, not exponentially, but definitely climbing up as I'm getting older, which is exactly the opposite of what should happen when you're getting older. Body weight, so people are definitely losing weight. Some people are putting on weight, but the majority of people are responding that their body weight is improved. Physical stamina, endurance. I think that generally people are staying kind of the same or improving slightly, so kind of really kind of mixed results here. For myself, my personal stamina has in the last few years has gone up quite a bit, so I won't talk about that anymore. Vision, most people, their vision is staying the same. Once again, it's kind of like these three things for me personally. I'm just trying to say what's happened to me, and hopefully it'll happen to other people. My strength in the last few years has gone up quite significantly, like noticeably. My physical stamina and endurance, like when I'm exercising, I can recover between sets really fast now. So it's definitely improved a lot in the last few years. And I would say my vision is for sure the best it's been in decades. And I've kind of noticed that in the last 2 years, I'm going to say, it's really good. Like my vision is just really bright, clear. It's just, the best it's been in a long time. Dry eyes, people are experiencing some improvement in their dry eyes. And of course, that's to be expected. Vitamin A is completely documented. This functional mechanism of Accutane is to wipe out the sebaceous glands, while the meibomian glands in the eyelid are actually sebaceous glands too. So no question that vitamin A is going to slowly destroy those glands. So good to see that this is moving along the right direction. Vitality and libido. Then there's a question here about what other health improvements have you experienced. I don't think I'm going to go through that. This video is going to get too long, so I'll let people read that. So all kinds of kind of general improvements being documented. And then there's another question here. Have you experienced any decline in your health? And likewise, well, I've got some people saying no, but there are a lot of people that have experienced, serious or significant declines in their health. Here's a comment: worsening intestinal health leading to intestinal failure and liver disease. Yikes. That sounds pretty dramatic. You don't know if this person was, heading in that direction, before this diet, or if this is the result of, taking on this vitamin A elimination diet and going into a serious detox cycle. Sure hope not. That would be rather tragic. I think any good news here is that, the intestinal tract and, the liver, both tissues that can fully recover and probably recover reasonably quickly. So, anyway, yeah, so people are definitely seeing these serious setbacks also. So I'm not going to go over any more of that. I'll let you read that and make your own assessment of it. So once again, thank you very much to everybody that has participated in this survey and contributed to it, and thank you for contributing to this project. I hope to get more involved in this coming year, and we'll take it from there. Thanks.